This is Dr. Sandy Queen with queenhomeschool.com, and today I'm going to take you on a flip through of The Governing of a Nation, which is the high school government course in our Discovering History series at queenhomeschool.com, written by Kylie Queen. So you're going to see in here that this book is set up like all the other books in our Discovering History series, where you've got here's a letter to the parent telling how to use. Okay, every Monday you're going to start the week with vocabulary, and these are going to be a list of vocabulary words taken from the story you're going to read on Tuesday, and the student is going to have to look up the definitions and write them there so that when they get to the story on Tuesday, they're going to have a better understanding of what the words mean because they have already defined them the previous day. So here we're learning about local government in lesson 1. In lesson 1, every lesson lasts for a week, okay? So day 3, everything's laid out very simply. You can see exactly which day, which week you're working on. This is lesson 1 is week 1. Day 5, this is what they're doing. So the next lesson is the next Monday. They have vocabulary words again. And then now we're learning this week about county government. So you've got the story to read on Tuesday. This is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And in the Discovering History series, you're going to see that we have a timeline every Friday that we're working on throughout the year. In this course on U.S. government, there are not as many events on the timeline. They will have some other activities on some Fridays. Here's the following week's vocabulary. More about local government this week. Just because a lot of the events or the things that we're covering are not necessarily time related, which is there will still be a timeline. There just aren't as many events as in other timelines. So now we're learning about the positions of cities in the state this week, government-wise, rather than geographically. Okay. Finding out more about that. So the student will continue to have some researching and writing each week, just like in the other volumes in this series. This is week 5. Okay, this is the story for Tuesday. It's a few pages long. And then they're going to find out more about the things that they're learning about. And this week we do have a timeline. Okay, lesson 6, which is week 6, learning more about state government here this week. The rights of the state in the federal constitution. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of constitution history as well, different things to research that have to do with this week's lesson. Okay, and then the next week, the state legislature. Sorry. It's been a rough day. Okay. The next week, week 8, lesson 8, how bills are passed. So you're learning not just about the different hierarchy of government, but also how the government works. You're going to learn about the different branches of the government. Okay, the state executive. So you can see how it's set up. I wanted you to be able to see also some of the things that are covered in this particular volume, because we do not have a scope and sequence or table of contents for the books in this series. Here's the state judiciary. So the videos I thought would help you to be able to see the sorts of things that are covered more. These books were written for our family, and so I didn't really need to write a scope and sequence or a table of contents for myself when I wrote these to use with my children, or in this particular case, my oldest daughter wrote this, and my younger kids used it. And so that's why we don't have that. To include that afterwards, we would have to move every single page and every single image to squeeze something in at the beginning. So no. Political parties. and what the differences are, how they developed, that sort of thing. Okay, finding out more about that, digging out the facts, further research. Then next week we have vocabulary, and we're learning about the nominating methods. Okay. Hopefully this will help you to get a better picture for what is covered. The establishment of the Union. So again, this is a high school level government course. The daily stories, or I'm sorry, the weekly stories are written as interesting, engaging stories. Here's a timeline where we're putting 2 different events on there. The next week's vocabulary, ratification. Okay. So you've got the vocabulary, you've got the living book component, you've got the researching and writing, you've got the timeline. Here's the following week's vocabulary, and now we're learning about the 2 houses of Congress, the House of Representatives. Okay, learning more about your congregational district, your representatives in Congress. So a lot of this will be personalized according to where you live, what state you're in. This is about the Senate, learning about the Senate and who it's comprised of, about the senators, how they're chosen, who is your senator, that kind of stuff. Okay, digging out facts, what is a filibuster, further research, and next week's vocabulary. Now we're learning about the organization and procedures of Congress. So a lot about how the government works, how it was founded, what the different branches are, how each one of those works, finance and taxation, everyone's favorite, right? Paid my personal taxes today, quarterly estimate, so that gave me good appreciation for the taxation. Not really, but okay. The presidency election, how that works, how that's supposed to work. Finding out more about that. What is the Electoral College? How many electoral votes does your state have? That kind of stuff. Okay. More researching and writing about that. Vocabulary for the next week. And now we're learning about the presidential inauguration, the powers and the duties of the president. Different offices under the president. Okay, the vocabulary for week 22, foreign affairs, military powers of the president. Okay, and now we're learning this week about the cabinet and executive departments. Finding out more about that. Thanks to research, digging out facts, further research. And each of these pages is one day, okay? Here's the next week's story. The stories are obviously longer than one day, but the story is for one day, okay? This is the next day. This is the next day. So each week focuses on one main particular topic. Okay, this is week 25. Government of the territories, how that works. The differences between an organized and unorganized territory, the difference between a U.S. citizen and U.S. national. So there's a lot of different additional things that they're going to be learning as well. Timeline figures for that week. Week 26, citizenship. I'm going to flip through a little more quickly, just give you the main topics. Rights of citizens, duties of citizens and aliens. Okay, and then the last section here from lesson 28 onward is about the Constitution of the United States. So they are going to be reading and finding out more about what each section of the Constitution is all about. Okay, and they're reading the actual text of the Constitution, which is included here, as well as learning more about that. So that's what the last section of this book is about, the different articles, and they're going to be looking up things and researching more about those, the branches of government, looking up words in the Constitution so that they have a good understanding. So the last 6 weeks are a study on the Constitution itself, okay? And basically, that's how it continues. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what this particular volume in our Discovering History series is about, the governing of a nation, a high school government course for students that are being homeschooled.